polygamy does not know adultery. So you
no,
should.
Polygamy knows. I disagree.
Wait a minute.
Polygamy
Wait a minute.
If you are not 25, you have no business driving a commercial vehicle. The only person who can take your driver's license and retain it must be a police officer of the rank of inspector and above.
Using office hours to engage in social media is a ground for you to be what? Dismissed.
When you are raped, you can justifiably walk into any government hospital or a licensed medical facility for an abortion.
A will takes effect only after the person is dead.
Pure cocaine is not addictive. What is addictive is when it's adulterated.
Join the Law Express panel this and every week as we delve into all these relevant topics.
Law Express, Mondays at 7:15 p.m. and a repeat on Thursdays at 5:45 p.m.
Hello, what are you doing Tuesday to Friday, 7:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. every day? You should be watching The Couch. I'll tell you why. On Tuesdays, we talk social issues, lifestyle health, all those everyday issues that affect us in the big ways. Late Wednesdays are for book reviews. Thursdays are for the hard talk, those socio-economic, policy-oriented, political questions that demand for the tough questions to be asked. And personality profiling Fridays, when we get to know the stories behind the winning personalities we love. Inspirational story from inspirational personalities. Hey, listen, you really cannot miss The Couch with me, Amma Pratt. Still, the only TV show with a hat.
Hello, you are welcome to another episode of Diplomatic Affairs with me, Harriet Nartey. This is the only show that brings you all the happenings from the diplomatic community in Ghana and around the world. Remember, we are coming to you live from the studios of Pan-African Television right here at Abilinkbe in Accra, Ghana. Today we are focusing on tourism, and there is so much that we will be sharing with you. Now, Africa offers many diverse experiences when it comes to tourism. Unfortunately, tourists from the other parts of the world and even Africa often stick to the basics and don't explore the full potentials of the African continent. Well, today's episode of Diplomatic Affairs will see me and my star-studded panelists discussing leveraging tourism to accelerate development on the African continent, with a particular focus to our exploits in the Kingdom of Morocco. I will be back right after this break.
Hello, what are you doing Tuesday to Friday, 7:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. every day? You should be watching The Couch. I'll tell you why. On Tuesdays, we talk social issues, lifestyle health, all those everyday issues that affect us in the big ways. Late Wednesdays are for book reviews. Thursdays are for the hard talk, those socio-economic, policy-oriented, political questions that demand for the tough questions to be asked. And personality profiling Fridays, when we get to know the stories behind the winning personalities we love. Inspirational story from inspirational personalities. Hey, listen, you really cannot miss The Couch with me, Amma Pratt. Still, the only TV show with a hat.
right, so my name Black Rasta, and of course, this is the Black Pot. I know you've been waiting all this while to hear the fire that is about to take over the whole country. Now, what is boiling in that black pot? Of course, is it about the e-levy or the e-levy cake? Or is it about the missing millions? Or is it about the toilets in the middle of the highway? Lord God have mercy. Or is it about the sleeping president? Oh my God have mercy. Wherever the issues take us to, you know that we shall speak. Hey, your duty is to make sure on the 1st of March 2022, this is the Black Pot, aka Kuku Show them up, where the fire blazes on and on and on and on. What you need to do is to catch me on the Black Empire Media page, Facebook and YouTube and even Instagram. And there you will find us live. We are also live on Pan-African TV and of course a TV close to you. Well, my name Black Rasta. Let's wake up the sleeping president. This is the Black Pot. More fire.
Polygamy does not know adultery. So you should
polygamy knows. I disagree. Polygamy.
If you are not 25, you have no business driving a commercial vehicle. The only person who can take your driver's license and retain it must be a police officer of the rank of inspector and above.
Using office hours to engage in social media is a ground for you to be what? Dismissed.
When you are raped, you can justifiably walk into any government hospital or a licensed medical facility for an abortion.
A will takes effect only after the person is dead.
Pure cocaine is not addictive. What is addictive is when it's adulterated.
Join the Law Express panel. This is every week as we delve into all these relevant topics.
Law Express, Mondays at 7:15 p.m. and a repeat on Thursdays at 5:45 p.m.
Hello, what are you doing Tuesday to Friday, 7:30 to 9 o'clock p.m. every day? You should be watching The Couch. I'll tell you why. On Tuesdays, we talk social issues, lifestyle health, all those everyday issues that affect us in the big ways. Late Wednesdays are for book reviews. Thursdays are for the hard talk, those socio-economic, policy-oriented, political questions that demand for the tough questions to be asked. And personality profiling Fridays, when we get to know the stories behind the winning personalities we love. Inspirational story from inspirational personalities. Hey, listen, you really cannot miss The Couch with me, Amma Pratt. Still, the only TV show with a hat.
Welcome back to the show. This is the only show that brings you all the happenings from the diplomatic community in Ghana and also around the globe. My name again is Harriet Nartey, and we are coming to you live from the studios of Pan-African Television. We are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube. So wherever you are in the world, you can watch us and also get to be interactive with us. I will be taking all your messages, your contributions, whatever you have with regard to the talk that we will be discussing today. You can be part of it. My guests are already seated. Like I said, I have a star-studded panelist with me, and they will be helping me to discuss everything with regard to tourism on the African continent, with a particular focus to the Kingdom of Morocco. I have with me, all right, Ameyao Kisi Deborah, and Ameyao is a very known face, very known name as well, a huge brand in Ghana when it comes to entertainment, and he's an influencer, and of course he has Ameyao Deborah TV online. So Ameyao is here with us, and of course I have the beautiful and intelligence, Samoki Tete. Samoki Tete is the editor, digital content with the Ghana News Agency. I'm supposed to have 3 guests with me. One is on his way, so we will begin the conversation and wait for him to get here so he can also add his voice to whatever it is that we will be discussing on today's episode of Diplomatic Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to Diplomatic Affairs, and it's so good to see you again. How are you?
Yeah,
Sam?
I'm fine. I'm fine. I mean, you know, yesterday we had a great time.
We did.
We are still relaxing. We haven't snapped out of that yet.
Right. Have you snapped out of the trip to Morocco yet?
No.
Because I'm still reliving Morocco.
In fact, I wish I was still there, you know. And I posted on Twitter, and I think Dr. Conversat retweeted and said, please come back. I'm actually
They don't
back.
know that you are here.
I'm
Well, I've
here.
exposed you. I'm your Deborah. It's good to see you.
Same here.
How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. I mean, just like I think because you've been creating content with what we experienced
Right.
over the weeks, so we still sort of are in that spirit. Every now and then we have to do 1 or 2 content to throw back to what we did. So yes, it's been a fun experience.
I will begin my conversation or our conversation on the spirit of Pan-Africanism. Now let's talk about Africans. How can we leverage tourism for the development of the Africa we aspire? And let me start with you, Amir.
Well, I think it starts with us looking inward. Even within Ghana, we must first look into doing some domestic tourism, and then the desire to go out there and explore more even continues. So then now we move to Kenya, we move to South Africa, we move to Morocco, and really see what our continent has to offer us. And in doing so, it will be very important that the cost of traveling becomes bearable, which unfortunately is not the case. Sometimes traveling to Europe is even less expensive than traveling within Africa. So there's a lot to experience, but it's also left to the individual countries to make it attractive for people within the continent to also come in. Very few people in terms of strategy on their tourism marketing front have made it a conscious effort to say that, hey, look, Africans need to come and experience us also. In the past, a lot of it has been sell and attract those from Europe, and now especially Asia. Asians have a lot of money to travel around the world, so they target those people and they leave us out. But since I started this job, I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of different countries who have seen the need to also target travels from African countries to their end. So I think it starts with that thinking. And once we look at it more, and when it also becomes less expensive to do it, then we would see that it will pick up.
Right. So you mentioned the cost, how expensive it is to travel within Africa than doing outbound travel, such as moving from maybe Ghana to, let's say, Europe, or maybe Ghana to the Americas. So we need to look at that and see how best we can work on that to make it more attractive when it comes to money for Africans to express interest in exploring the rest of the continent. Now, let me come to Samoki. Samoki, you are the editor in charge of content with the Ghana News Agency online. You have done a lot of travels as well, so I follow you. You are always globetrotting, but we'll talk about that later.
But that's not compared to, you know,
Amir himself.
He's been all over the place.
Let me ask you, do you think there is the desire to explore the Africans wanting to explore the rest of the continent?
Well, I'll say that from the comments I get when I travel to a country in Africa, I feel people don't really think that we have something to offer. So it is when we travel and let them see, then they get to know that, okay, there's something here. Everybody thinks of Dubai.
Right.
You and I know perfectly well that, yes, now our number one point of travel when it comes to tourism in Ghana now might be Dubai, because it seems every young girl wants to go to Dubai or has been to Dubai. I've been there 3 times, and I really wanted to go there again till I went to Morocco. Now, going to Morocco, I realized its antiqueness.
So Dubai has always been on the list.
Yeah, on the list. It's like, okay, this year I want to go to Dubai, and where else? Then I think of something else. But now that I have Morocco, I'm like, okay, I want to go to Morocco again, and I'll do anything to go there again. In terms of if I'm writing my travel list, I think there are lots of places I haven't seen, so I want to go back there. But I feel that people don't really think the continent has anything to offer, unfortunately, in terms of tourism, which is not the case, because there's a lot to see. And when you go to places like Senegal, you see lots of tourist sites. And, you know, it's fun. You experience the uniqueness in culture, even on the same continent. You also experience the similarities. You get to eat different foods, meet different people. You see how friendly we are. You also get to mingle with others, even experience the language barrier. Because we are Ghanaians, we speak English as our first language. You cross over to the next country and they are speaking French, and you realize that you are lost. And you can't even say hello in French. You are lost. You want to buy something, you don't even know how to communicate. So it becomes a problem. I feel that when I came back from Morocco, I said, oh, I want to visit Kenya. And a colleague of mine at work, a junior, said, Sang, hey, I'll speak in Tree and translate. Said, media utu kwanko Africa ha baby be who the way to kwanyo. Literally to say that if you travel within the continent, they don't count it as anything. But you are not traveling for it to be counted. You are traveling to see things, and anything you want to see out there, there are more nicer things to see on the continent. So I feel that we need to be conscientized, reoriented, to know that we have to even explore within, as Amayal said, within Ghana, Africa, before we even think of going outside the borders. Yeah.
That's a very interesting view you shared there. You made two major points, and I'm very much interested. You said people don't think the continent has anything to offer. It is true. Then again, you mentioned the scantiness of information out there on the internet, or when you go to Google and you are trying to look for information when it comes to the African continent. I have had an encounter when someone said to me, I said, oh, I'm from Ghana. I was in Dubai, and so I was trying to get people to, you know, get to know about Ghana. So I said, oh, I'm from Ghana. You know Ghana? I said, yes, there are a lot of trees. And, you know, I was asking myself, I mean, that was the first thing that came out of this person's mouth. And there are a lot of trees, not as in green in the country, but well, the continent. But he meant to say that that's the only thing, as in monkeys on the trees, and it's some very dark continent. But you cannot blame this person, then again, because there is no much information out there. Amayal, let me ask you, I see how passionate you are about sharing information to the public when it comes to promoting Ghana, when it comes to promoting Africa. How else, apart from governments dealing with each other at the government level, how can, when we come down, how can you and I as journalists also contribute to the dissemination of information?
I mean, rightly so, like you said, a lot of, especially the Western media in the past, have not portrayed Africa in the better light. And so you speak to young people from the US, Europe, and they think of Africa as a jungle. And fortunately, we're now in an era where we're able to connect through social media and open the eyes of people through what we put out there. The likes of Wodemaya have created platforms on YouTube that are huge and having discussions and showing people how beautiful Africa is. And so I think if it hasn't started changing, it will change soon, because those barriers are being broken, and people in America don't need to sit on television all the time to get all the information. And so those of us who find ourselves in that online space, that digital space, like Sang herself, we are able to now connect. You were mentioning Google and all of that. Once we add all these things up, then that information is sort of aggregated. So the next person who's looking for that piece of information is pointed in the right direction to what needs to be seen. So I think all these little contributions, at the end of the day, will sort of archive all the richness in terms of experiences that people can have when they come to to Africa. So I am optimistic. I don't think it's totally a dead case or a sports case or whatever they call it. But gradually, through digital means, we are breaking barriers. I mean, for instance, when we went to Morocco, for instance, we were taking a picture.
Yeah, we will come to that part.
Yeah,
I mean, there is so much. Go ahead, please.
As an example for the connection.
Right.
So, the one I was going to take the picture with, we saw someone, and then we wanted him to frame it a certain way. So we made him stand with me, and then we took the picture and said, look, this is how we want it to look. And then now he comes to take us. So when I was uploading the pictures, I just decided to upload the one I took with him. And then before I knew, somebody's in my inbox. This person that I took the picture with, that out of nowhere, I don't know, has sent me an inbox saying that, oh, at least you should have tagged me. I'm like, I don't even know you. But then we've connected through social media and that. So the online space is good.
Right.
I feel like over the years, you know, our age group is like a bridge between the younger generation and the older ones. Now, how do we get people to, you know that our continent has something? We usually want to tell, it's like we are pushing people or forcing things down their throat. You want to use our culture to get them. But are they really interested in the culture? Not yet. You want to use business to attract them. Are they interested in the business aspect? Not yet. How do you get them their attention? And then now you communicate what you want to give them to them. And he mentioning the picture, for example. So you take a picture with someone, the person says, you didn't tag me. You tag the person. Now the person is following you, gets to know about Ghana, sees something in Ghana and wants to come to Ghana. But if you go using the hard way, we have business, calm down, or we have this and that, you realize that it doesn't really work.
Like that. The interest is not there. I'm so happy you touched on using the hard way, which is, in a way, we have the soft power diplomacy kind of, where there are so many initiatives. Cultural diplomacy, show-based diplomacy. Diplomacy is broad. Exactly. So in this case, we are all ambassadors when it comes to getting the word out there to the world, to the rest of the world, to come and experience our continent. You made another valid point when you talked about the language barrier. Now, the language barrier, let me ask you a question. Here we are, we have the operationalization of the African Continental Free Trade Area, you know, and it's already taken off. So as it is, work is ongoing, and the whole idea is to integrate economic activity on the African continent, where all the countries would, you know, come together for us to work, trade together. How do we achieve that with the issue of language barrier?
That's the problem. I feel that the English-speaking countries don't really pay attention to learning French. And the French-speaking countries try a bit. But you know, when our students even go elsewhere, to a French-speaking country, they have to learn to communicate in French first. And then we need to have a common ground where we can communicate in either languages. At least if you look on the entire continent, English dominates, followed by French, and then the Portuguese. I was telling Amir yesterday that it seems the Portuguese, those who speak Portuguese, like Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, they learn to speak French, and they even learn to speak a little English. Right. But we don't. So in order for us to be successful at this whole after thing, and even for people to get employed, because if you can't speak French, then you can't. If you are not bilingual, you can't really
form of
work.
Course, creating employment on the African continent by pooling our resources
now
together.
We are not bilingual. Only a few people get the opportunity to be bilingual.
About 5%.
Exactly. So we need to find a common ground where probably it's compulsory for everyone to speak French and English. However that will be done, I don't know. But it seems the pantalon lay kind of French that we are learning in Ghana is not helping us at all. I don't think that we can even string an entire sentence. Look at how we're struggling.
Right.
We had to be asking
it was very embarrassing.
To choose
it was very embarrassing. All jokes aside, it was very embarrassing.
Yeah, I made a transit at Abidjan on my way to Dakar. And you know, you have to follow your luggage to know whether it's been moved to. And there we were, myself and another Ghanaian girl, Adiza. We couldn't even ask where the luggage was. We were just standing there looking at the bags, and we were trying to figure out if our bag was in. We couldn't ask anybody anything.
Because you could not
because
communicate
we just can't
in
communicate.
French.
You even want to pick a cab, unless you Google and show the person, I'm going here. Like, this is where I'm going. Oh, okay, hotel, this, and they'll take you there. And it's frustrating. So imagine we as individuals in another person's country, we can't even find our way around. How much more in business where we want to communicate? People, we went to Morocco, people are interested in dealing with ASMEs. How do they communicate? Everything becomes like a hurdle to cross. So there must be, it's never too late though, they must sit down and then replan while the business aspect is going on. How do we integrate so that we can speak the language fluently on both sides? Then we can move. Otherwise, we'll be stuck because we can't penetrate each other's markets.
So therefore, the whole idea for which this brilliant initiative was actually brought in or introduced would, you know, be zero, because we would not achieve exactly what we anticipated to achieve when it comes to trading on the African continent. And now, I'm so happy we started on the note of Africa. I have a few videos that I have prepared from our trip, and we will be sharing. With the world.
What was I doing?
They're all pleasant videos. They're all pleasant videos. You don't have a problem. Now, so when we arrived at the airport. Now let me zoom into Morocco, the experience. What was briefly? Then I'll play the video. Before Morocco, when you heard about the trip, actually when you were asked to go to Morocco and experience or explore Morocco, what did you have in your head?
Well, because this time I had been there before, so that
was your second.
That was my second time. But for the very first time, I was very open to taking the country, and you know, your experience starts right from the airport. And when I got to the airport, it had that beach vibe to it. When you get outside, you feel like there's another place I've been to. So I remember when I was reviewing it, I compared it to Palm Springs, which is in California. They give you that, when you get out, you feel like it's very open, but of course there's a little bit of restriction. Cars cannot move here, so that spoils it a little bit. But when you go out, you get that vibe, like you are in some open beach area. Yeah, that's one thing I took in.
Sam, briefly, I want to play the video.
I saw the message, Morocco.
Your expectation.
I said, Morocco. So I Googled Morocco. I read about Morocco, their language, the weather at the moment, because I wanted to know whether it was
I'm sure you had
cold.
no information,
I had
no idea,
clue,
no interest.
Nothing.
In what's happening on the other, or let's say the other African continent.
Yeah, I was
country.
lost. Like, I didn't even know where it was. So I checked. They said, okay, North Africa. Okay, yeah. So we are going where? I Googled the map. Okay, this is where Morocco is. Like, I realized I didn't know anything about them. Got to the airport, the weather was freezing. I said, okay.
It was so cold.
Yeah, we are in Morocco. I see.
On that note, if my video is ready, please, can we take a look at Morocco when we arrived at the airport? right, you're still watching Diplomatic Affairs, and so that was the arrival. Hold on. So that was the arrival when we got to the airport in Casablanca. Am I right?
Yes.
In Casablanca. So that was when we got to Casablanca, and the weather just welcomed us in a very grand style. It was freezing because we never anticipated that the weather was so cold in Morocco as at the time we got to Morocco, but it was so nice. It was good. Sam, I am as guilty as charged, because I also didn't have much information. It's a shame not to know what is happening in the other African country. Of course, the continent, over 50 African countries, 54 African countries, and we don't know what is happening in Nigeria. We don't have any information prior to what is happening in Angola, what is happening in other African countries. How can we've already spoke at length about pushing the message out there, serving as goodwill ambassadors to our country and our continent. The youth, how do we get them involved?
Great. I mean, talking about having information about other countries, I think the way we've consumed news over the period, even if you are listening to news on Pan-African TV, for instance, a lot of the content is from Ghana. And if we are even looking at other African countries, it has to be the negative news or the things that it's buzzing. There's war, there's something. Those are the things that get our attention. So I think in terms of strategy, it's important that we also bring in other things from the continent, the countries that are not so much about events happening, which often are around the negative or political scene. Individually, I think the experiences we had and we are sharing on our platforms, we speak to a lot of young people, and once these young people now have the interest to explore, it becomes a new generational thinking.
Explore Africa?
Yeah, because people do want to explore Africa, but we must also understand that there are a lot of boundaries. Even within ECOWAS that they say free movement
the
and all of that.
bottlenecks are just too much. We have to work
they
at the bottlenecks.
So for a first-time traveler, maybe even if he doesn't experience it himself, when somebody experiences and tells him he's held back, he doesn't want to go. So unlike, like I already mentioned, the element of cost and all of that, it's if you are traveling within Europe, it's very cheap. There are alternatives. There are trains. There are days that you can explore. And I like the fact that you talked about the after, for instance. I think they should consider fast-moving trains that will move human and
we'll talk about infrastructure in a bit.
Yeah,
what we saw in Morocco and how we can begin.
We link, even if you're not linking the whole of Africa, at least West
Transport
Africa. We should
system.
have all these options where somebody can go to Lagos in a fast train within an hour or so, and it's
save
cheap.
time and be productive.
Yes, and so I think collectively we've seen regional blocs trying to come together, and it falls apart even before you look at the African Union and all of that. But I think our leaders must have that clear vision that will make these things happen, and then we all plug in as the youth, as the general public also.
All right. Before I allow Samoki to make her submission, I have another interesting video number 2. Please, if the video is ready, let's roll it, and then we will come back right after this one.
Casablanca is the largest city of Morocco, and it was a pleasure. ended the short trip to Casablanca with dinner at Bamboo African Restaurant, a Senegalese restaurant where we tried Senegalese jollof among many others. There was also some fun live music for our entertainment. Don't forget to stay tuned for more of our Morocco trip. This time we are going to Marrakesh. So stay tuned, make sure you like our comment.
Harriet! Hello, Harriet! Harriet!
Right, so those were some fun moments in Morocco, and we are so generous that we want to share all the moments with you. So if you are planning your next destination when it comes to vacation, please consider Morocco. Here we are talking about Africa, the African Continental Free Trade Area, and of course getting to know the rest of the African countries. So we've started with Morocco. Who knows where else would be our next destination? Now we have interesting moments. I will introduce Zam. Zam just joined us. So I have Zambaga Rufai Saminu, and Zam, as I affectionately call him, is the executive director, journalist for tourism advocacy. Journalist for tourism advocacy. So now he is the man who made everything happen. And before I come to him, I want to ask Zam briefly. I cannot just pass by you. I want you to tell us. You saw the video we played right now.
Yeah.
What was going through your head?
Oh, very exciting. I mean,
are you still reliving Morocco in Ghana?
Yeah, of course. It brings back the fun memories and all the exciting things that happened in Morocco. So it was fun watching it again.
Right. It was fun. I took you back to Morocco, virtually took you back to Morocco. Sam, what was going on in your head?
I'm excited. I'm all smiles. It was so much fun, like back-to-back fun, coupled with business meetings and stuff like that. So, in all, I over-enjoyed myself.
Let me ask you let's talk about best practices. Before I come to Zam for him to tell us more about why he decided to put together a platform just for advocacy when it comes to tourism. Let's talk about development in Morocco. Morocco is far advanced. And I know that we cannot explore it all, but what are the best practices that we can emulate or replicate from each other as a continent?
I feel that they love their country. That's not to say we don't love our
patriotism.
Country. Yeah, they are very patriotic. And I feel we say Ghanaians are friendly, but I think they are very friendly, very hospitable. Those are the qualities I really took from them. And you can see they have that culture of maintenance. However it's done, I don't know. But we didn't see anything broken down. We didn't see any gutter uncovered.
Open gutters, you mean? Open gutters.
Even, you know, in Ghana,
road
I have
construction.
To say this, that when we even have those metals there, you get people taking the slabs off. You don't see that there. The whole place is green, so coordinated. I was asking the ambassador yesterday how they get to keep their houses in that color. If it's brown.
So the cities are thematic.
White, that's it. So, I mean, it's like they have that sense of beauty in them and creativity. Look at the incubator hub that we went to. Look at the kind of things they do there. I feel like they work with a certain standard. Everything they do has a certain standard that some of us here don't have, if I'm to compare. I feel we are complacent. We do things anyhow. We really don't care. We think government is the one to do something for us. Government do things that the people should do something for themselves, whatever the argument is. I don't want to go there. But I feel in Morocco, you know, it's soothing, beautiful, and that taste, that class is there. Maybe we should learn
class. Indeed. Amael, I'd like to take your view.
Yeah, I
briefly on best practices on the African continent. We are not comparing, but we are looking at the things that we can learn from each other, you know, and how we can come together and share ideas, you know.
I think having that long-term developmental policy or plan, it's something that is also lacking. Morocco, for instance, they have a king who is there forever. He can come up with an agenda and work towards it over the years, but when you look at our system, after 4 years, somebody else is coming. But I feel if we have that general agenda where, regardless of who comes, we know this is what we want to achieve in the next 20 years, everybody is working towards that. It helps. I think that's the only way we can maintain our governance system and still progress. If not, a lot of the things, there's not that continuity, and then we would suffer. Of course, we need that maintenance culture. We need that cleanliness and restoration of our sites, deliberate restoration of our sites, and all of that. These are some of the things I can pick and stick together.
All right, very interesting submissions. Now, let me come to Zam. Zam, before you tell us why you decided to put together this platform, the advocacy for tourism, you know, journalists for, you know, advocacy platform, let me ask you, beyond the government level of development, how can we also contribute to the development of our continent as Africans, young Africans, the youth?
First of all, we must identify things that have been done in the past that obviously did not work for the continent, so that we depart from those things. That's number one. Number two, we must also begin to believe in ourselves. That's domesticating whatever ideas that we think will inure to the benefit of the continent. And then thirdly, we must also imbibe in young generation of Africans that it is possible. Because for many of our colleagues, I mean, they've given up because of failure on the part of leadership, because of failure on the part of the kind of systems that we are running across the continent, and because of opulence of people in high office. I mean, people feel that once somebody is occupying an office and displaying opulence, I mean, there is no way they must sacrifice for the country. And that is why you don't see in countries that are very advanced. And so we must learn from some of these best practices and begin to turn a new leaf so that generations upon generation will begin to take cogent steps and begin to turn around the table, and we'll begin to see the impact of positivity in terms of development in the continent. So basically, that's what I'll say.
All right.
Because if you look at what is happening in advanced countries, all these things are fundamentals. Where nationalism and patriotism thrives, citizens are willing and are ready to sacrifice for their country. But when leadership begin to display opulence, begin to destroy and also abuse national and natural resources at the expense of the masses.
And the politicization of every issue.
That is it. So it all boils down to how things are managed. So the abuse of resources and the abuse of positions and all that, I mean, tend to anger a lot of the up and coming, particularly the youth who are very obviously aspiring to also occupy responsible positions. And so if we begin to change that status quo, if we begin to change that narrative, obviously people will be inspired. Because trust me, if you go to most of these advanced countries, what is distinguishing them from us is leaders are able to inspire the young generation to believe in themselves through their actions and service,
not by
and through decision making,
services.
Not lip service,
exactly.
Through decision making, through actions and inaction. And so they are inspired, they are motivated, they are encouraged to also do same, to emulate the shining examples. I'll just give you one typical example. If you go to Morocco, there is one palace, an ancient palace, which is over 100 years. And that palace is so huge, over 100 years structure. And you can't find a similar one in Ghana, in present-day Ghana. And the one who built it was the first prime minister of Morocco. Now, do you know the fascinating thing? The biggest mall in Africa currently
is situated in Morocco.
Is situated in Morocco, and it was built by the current prime minister. Now you see the scenario.
Okay, I see the scenario.
The kind of challenge.
I see
so
the scenario.
Somebody putting out a legacy project, and somebody also trying to also, compete and do something extraordinary beyond what the person has done. But ask yourself, in our part of the world, who is even doing something that will inspire you, that you also aspire to do something better?
I believe there are few people who are doing
so
well.
So that is the reason why the question that you ask, if you look at the private sector, participation in development in some of these advanced countries is very overwhelming. Yeah. That is the reason why the business community, those who control wealth, those who drive the financial community, they must begin to understand relevant sectors that drives the economy of our countries so that they can invest in those areas. They shouldn't rely heavily on low-hanging fruits. I know there are some millionaires who are just using their money to buy the dollar to frustrate the system so that the cedi will continue to depreciate and then they will continue to make profit. These things don't help in national development. We must rather channel these monies into productive sectors of our economy so that revenue would be generated and jobs will be created and the youth will be inspired. They will be happy. And a lot of things will be happening and we'll be progressing as a country.
And we will be patriotic towards our country.
That is it.
Exactly. So that's why I said leadership is key when it comes to all the submissions that we are making here. All right. Now, before I will come to you for you to tell us why you put this trip together. Before we do that, I have video number 3, which is I actually call it the camel ride. Let's take a look at that video. right, welcome back. You're still watching Diplomatic Affairs with me, Harriet Nartey. And of course, this is the only show that brings you all the happenings from the diplomatic community in Ghana, and not just in Ghana, of course, around the world. And I have Zam here, Zambaga Rufai Saminu, who is the Executive Director, Journalist for Tourism Advocacy. And he just joined us. So I still want to pick his thoughts. I want him to tell us why he decided to pull this off with regards to the trip to Morocco. Zam, briefly.
So first of all, after practicing as a journalist for almost 2 decades, I realized that there has been a lacuna in the tourism sector. And if you look at various institutions that have been formed as umbrella organizations working closely and in tandem with the Ghana Journalists Association, you have the Institute of Finance and Economic Journalists, IFEJ. You also have the Journalists for Business Advocacy, JBA, which is also working to promote the business sector. But I realized that the tourism sector is an area that has been neglected for many years. So I thought of putting together an institution or an organization in the form of a non-governmental organization that would not be profit-making, but would drive the campaign to get people talking about the tourism sector so that we'll be able to grow both inbound and through the experiences that we'll get from outbound. Because tourism is 2 ways, outbound and inbound. Now, based on your experiences as individuals, I'm sure the outbound has given you the litmus test to believe that it is possible we can also do it in Ghana, so that we can inspire those with money in the private sector to invest in tourism, so that we can begin to grow the numbers. Because tourism in many countries is contributing so much significantly to development and at the same time the creation of jobs. Just look at the Sindibad Park in Morocco and the number of people who are inside the park working. A multifaceted area, and is contributing so much. So I decided to put together this organization, the Journalists for Tourism Advocacy, JTA, purely on grounds of exposing journalists to things that are not done in this country, where else they are doing it and it is working, so that they can write about them whilst they are in Ghana, and then things that are in Ghana that we can improve, so that they can write about them, so that authorities who must listen will listen, that it is not only the agric sector, the mining sector, the oil sector that can contribute to our national economy. If we pay critical attention to tourism, it is possible of becoming the #1 in terms of the gross domestic product of our country. But if we don't pay attention to it, it will not be possible. And it will start with the campaign that we are waging with the media front, so that once journalists begin to understand this, they will begin to do their work and pay attention to that, because we talk about politics too much in this country.
Yeah, it dominates everything in this country.
And if we begin to pay attention to tourism, trust me, if we begin to make it topical, if we begin to talk about them, we will not only be bringing the experiences that we gather and garner from this outbound tourism exposure, but we will also be contributing significantly to the development of inbound tourism in our country. And you have people like Ameya, a tweet of what is supposed to be done in this country about tourism will go viral. And people will begin to respond positively.
All right. I am so much... first off, we need to commend you for putting this trip together. I was wondering why Morocco, though. But I guess we will have the opportunity to host you again on the show, so you can take us through why Morocco, because I know you have a long list of, pending trips, on the African continent. Right. So I have a few messages. I need to take just two, then we can wrap up. So please, you all have less than a second to give me for us to wrap up. No, this one is caller A.Al. I don't know. I hope I got the name right. Very far advanced, and he's talking about she's talking about Morocco. Very far advanced, the clean streets and orderliness on their roads, good ecosystems, also their infrastructure in terms of interlinks of trains, all from what I watched, to be honest. Okay, it says, to be honest, I've not been to Morocco before, but from where I live, You rarely see Moroccans in Europe and West because they similarly have the same weather and few others the West brags about in a way. Okay, so thank you. The messages are a lot. I cannot take everything. Like I said, just this one. She got lucky, so we took it. Now, let's wrap up. Sam, final words, briefly.
I feel that I agree with Zam. Morocco is doing something right, and we can also tap into that. Tourism is a great industry. We can talk of France, we can talk of Dubai, we can talk of Italy. I mean, there are landmarks. I don't see us having one landmark in Ghana where we mention Ghana and then that comes to mind. So
we have 14 castles.
Yeah, but we don't really, you know, it's not a place where everybody wants to go and sort of like propose. It's a proposal. Eiffel Tower. Everybody wants to go there. We say something, we are thinking Burj Khalifa. So, yeah, there should be something, and you think Ghana, not only the gloomy, you know. So, yeah, let's tap into that. Tourism is a big sector.
Tourism is indeed a big sector.
Tourism is a big sector. I don't think Ghana has a problem with people coming in. I mean, when we listen to the people who came in within the period of COVID and how much money they had paid at the airport for COVID tests, it's a lot. It shows you the numbers are there, but we should work on giving them great experiences, so that experiences that will live on for them to come back, and experiences that will let them spend their money here, and it adds up to our economy at the end of the day. So
revenue generation.
Yeah, we need to think along those lines more.
Zam.
Yeah, I want to sum up by commending Moontouch Travel Limited. You know, as a director, yes, as a director of the company, because we are working closely. Moontouch Travel Limited is working closely with the Journalists for Tourism Advocacy to make sure that these things are done. But let me also commend government for the Year of Return project.
Brilliant initiative.
To be honest with you, that was so amazing that if we are to take advantage of what actually transpired during the Year of Return, and we are to replicate that in multiple folds in other areas of tourism. Trust me. Look, we'll forget about mining where we have issues. We'll forget about, because tourism is a practical thing. Like just putting up the flying cap, and people are ready to pay and go and experience it. Put up this, and people are ready to pay and go and experience it. You don't need to dig in the form of mining. You don't need to explore in the form of this. And some of these things have been done elsewhere. We only need to replicate them.
No need to reinvent the wheel.
No need to reinvent the wheel. So it is doable.
It is doable indeed. My guest, ladies and gentlemen, Zambaga Rufai Saminu, Executive Director, Journalist for Tourism Advocacy. Thank you very much for coming. Amayao Kisi Deborah, blogger and influencer. Amayao Deborah Media. Thank you so much, Amayao. And of course, the beautiful, intelligent, of course, international relations. You know, she's been there already. I'm following her footsteps. Samoki Tete, editor, digital content, Ghana News Agency. Thank you so much for always staying with us on Diplomatic Affairs. I will see you same time next week, Saturday.